All right, guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, your host tonight on this 26th day of December, rapidly running out of 2012. And I wanted to get Kerry on at least one more time this year because he is such an excellent resource for the program. Lawyer, author, hosts his own radio or his own podcast. His website is Financial Survival Network. Guys, I put that link into the chat room towards the end of the first hour. So if you have questions for Kerry, a lot of these things I might not be able to answer when it comes to what you should do to protect your wealth or how you should set yourself up for 2013. If you have questions, call in 877-342-6673 or get into the chat room. Now, right now we're sitting at about 60 people in the chat. If you want to join them, wideawakenews.com. Click on the microphone on the right-hand side, and that'll put you into chat. All right, let's bring Kerry on right now. I tried to, during the break between the first hour and second hour, I tried to record a quick commentary video because I have this idea on my mind that I want to put on video before I forget it, and I failed miserably at doing that. But it had a lot to do with what Dex and I had talked about towards the end of the last hour, and what Kerry and I are going to talk, what I'm going to start this conversation with in this second hour, which is the ability of the powers that be to manipulate and control the mass consciousness. I hope that doesn't sound too new agey, Kerry, because I'm not that new agey of a guy. But the ability of the powers that be to keep feeding us the same baloney, right? The same bullcrap over and over and over again. And our fellow Americans are just more than willing to sit back and accept it as truth. And this, which is all well and good, right? We as long as the music's still playing, it's all well and good, right? Who's getting hurt, right? If the games are still on, the beer's still flowing, the electricity's still on, and if you have a job to go to, you might sit back and say, well, who cares? I can't affect change. What difference does it make to me? I still have my little piece of the world. But the terrifying notion is this is all coming to an end. There's some people, Kerry, I think it's coming to an end. I know it's coming to an end. There's a lot of people that are going to be hit like a freight train when this dance stops, when the music stops. Kerry Lutz?
Hey, well, Charlie, thanks again for having me on. I really enjoy coming on because I know that your audience, they understand. They get it. You get it. And I had this guy in my office today. I'm going to interview him tomorrow. He's a petroleum engineer. He's been fracking for 25 years. Talk about mass consciousness. There's nothing wrong with fracking, all right? Yes, there has been a few instances in the past where safety or common sense has been ignored, but for the most part, fracking's perfectly okay. But we're talking about this because he gets around the country, he sees people, and he knows that the collapse is coming. And he says, I'm trying to explain to my wife, she's complaining about her travel business, that, the business just isn't there. And I'm trying to explain to her that, look, hon, people just aren't traveling. They don't have the money to do it. And she just doesn't get it. And he's saying, I want to put in a generator, and she can't understand the point of having a generator. And I think she's a really bright woman, great person, but like most people, they're in the dark. They just either can't get their arms around what's going to happen, or they don't want to, and they're willing to just play it out to the very end, and then they'll take their chances. And it's really a short-sighted strategy. It really isn't going to help you in the long run. If you're only got a couple of years left and you say, what the heck, I'll just, end of the world, December 21st, I'll just spend all my money because the world's going to end anyway, that's fine. But if you got kids, if you've got another 20, 30 years to live, then you have to do something about this. You can't just sit around and wait for the inevitable to occur, and understanding that your plans might very well come to naught or for naught, but you need to at least try to put together a plan, buy some precious metals, get some food, and get ready for what's going to occur. Because if nothing else, you bought some food, you get to stay home while everyone else in the world scrounges for their next meal. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, and there's also something to be said, for avoiding the fray that is coming. The civil unrest, regardless of where you're at. If you're out here in the West where I'm at, not in a large urban area, it's not as big of concern to have to go and wade through civil unrest. But man, you know what? Most of the country doesn't live in this situation. Most of the country lives in a municipality with 1 million plus people in it. And the notion of not, I sometimes get off on a rant when I think about the people that refuse, like the lady you're talking about. I'm sure a great lady, right? I'm sure just a wonderful person. We all know people like this that just think that everything is going to go down this rosy path. Might be a little bumpy. We might have cyclical recessions, and we might see our portfolios drop a little bit, but they always come back. Ben Bernanke will tell me they always come back, so they must. And it's easy for me and people like me, and I try to keep an even keel when it comes to this, to want to just jump onto these people metaphorically and shake them into reality. But I always got to temper that with, well, wait a minute now. It isn't always easy to accept the truth. It isn't always easy to see the forest through the trees when you've been immersed in this what we as a generation have been immersed in. It's always going to be a better investment to get into the markets, into paper assets, than it's going to be to get into physical gold and silver. It's always going to be profitable for you to get into a home because they never go down in value nationwide. These aren't things I'm making up. These are things that have been said to people for decades in this country. You're trained by your. Go ahead, Kerry.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the term "ignorance is bliss" comes to mind, and it is blissful until that final day of reckoning when when your paper is gone, and your pantry is empty, and you don't know where your next meal is coming from, and you're taking the wedding band and trading it for food. Then all of a sudden, that ignorance doesn't seem like it was such a good idea for you. And unfortunately, I hate to get into cliches, but they really sum it up well. There are none so blind as those who will not see. And, in the land of blind men, the one-eyed man is king. Because, look, if anyone prepares for it, and you also have to prepare for fending off your neighbors and keeping a low profile because you don't want to tell them, hey, I'm okay for the next 6 months. And I don't know that 6 months is really the optimal amount. To me, it's like if we go more than a month and the food system doesn't come back online, we got a lot bigger problems, and it probably won't matter how much food you have. But, everything points to what's going to happen here. The whole executive orders that the president has put into place, the seizure of all natural resources, on and on and on. The NDAA, indefinite detention. We've got these FEMA camps. They've been pretty well documented that they exist and that they're going to use them. And Halliburton even gets a bonus for when the population of the camp exceeds 70%. So, it's all there in front of you. If you don't want to see it, then don't. But don't complain once the hammer hits the anvil, and you're looking for your next meal, and they say you can get your next meal, but you have to come to this little camp that we set up to protect you,
right,
to take care of you, to make sure that you are safe. Then you have no one to blame but yourself. And look,
and you could just see this, right? You could see. I'm thinking of something like what was it? Roosevelt's CCC, these work camps. I could see it happening. There'll be debtor camps that people are sent to. We're going to talk about more of this with Kerry Lutz on the backside of this break. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Kerry Lutz is joining us, and a couple things I didn't even mention as we started here. is number one, Chris Atkin of BuyEmergencyFoods.com. He's the one that introduced Kerry and I. We've been guests on each other's programs now a couple different times, but we were commenting off air on how grateful we are for not only for Chris and Buy Emergency Foods sponsoring my radio program, Kerry's podcast, but also the product that he offers through us to the public. Kerry had told me that it's just been going really great for him, and he's getting a lot of good testimonials back from his customers. And Kerry, I could tell you the same thing. You know, it's been going very well. It is a very much useful outlet that I think that has been beneficial to not only us, but also to Buy Emergency Foods, but more importantly to the people that listen to us. It's been absolutely fantastic for them, everybody involved. So I want to thank, I don't know if he's going to listen to the program or not, but I want to thank Chris Atkin for this hookup, and plus also the product that he offers to the people through us.
Oh yeah, it's just an incredible company. It amazes me that they've been doing this, Charlie, for 20 years.
Yeah.
And when I heard about them, when I found out about it, I said, I've been waiting for you guys here. Come on board. I didn't even think about it. I mean, I did my due diligence. I knew about the company long before. And, I get nothing but positive emails from people saying, wow, thanks so much for turning us on to this company. The service is phenomenal. We got a great discount, free shipping, a great Christmas special. And, it's like, I'm just so happy because, I put my name on it. I bought product from them as well because I wouldn't tell anybody to buy something that I wouldn't do myself. And it's just been phenomenal. It's just a really great company. And, their guarantees, it's a kind of company that gives all these guarantees that probably never has to use any of them because they got the highest quality food out there. You actually, Charlie, you looked at labels on these things. You can actually understand the ingredients. There's no crap in there. And now they're guaranteed GMO free. And, you just don't come across companies like this nowadays. The integrity level of the company and the way they stand behind everything they ship, and they do what they say they're going to do, which is why you need to get the stuff. I mean, Charlie, we were talking about this. You and I hooked up at least 6-8 weeks before Hurricane Sandy. And we had this conversation. We told people, go out, get it now. It's not if something is going to happen, it's when. And when already happened, and when is going to continue to happen, whether there's insurrections or weather or natural disasters, it's going to continue. That's why you need to have it. And the other thing that's great about it is it comes in those self-contained tubs. You take 2 or 3 of them, you have to get out of your house, you throw them in the back of your car, and you got food for the next few weeks, the next couple of months. I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And you talked about the company and how they're all about integrity and fulfilling their promises they keep. And you checked them out before you went on board. Well, before I went on board with them, I flew down to Salt Lake and checked out the facility for myself. And I'm just nothing but impressed with these guys from manufacturing to shipping. They are 100% quality driven in everything they do. And I think it shows in their product, and it does show in the testimonials we get. Because Kerry, if it was a fly-by-nighter, we'd hear that too. You know that.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully
Absolutely.
We figured it out already too. But you're spot on, Charlie. I mean, this is a great company, and this is a company that that I trust personally. And when they tell me they're going to do something, they do it. And what's better?
That's absolutely right. Kerry, we got you still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. I want to talk. Tell me a little bit about. We got about a minute left, so if we get cut off by this break, we'll talk about it on the backside as well. Forget Wall Street. This is your newest book. Forget Wall Street. Go for gold and silver too. Give us a little introduction here.
Hey, sure. Glad you asked me about that. Well, I felt for a while that people really didn't understand the situation that we're in didn't understand how we got here, and didn't understand what they could do, at least to attempt to protect themselves from the pending global cataclysm that's going to occur. So I started writing this book about 6, 8 months ago, and I realized that I was ideally suited to write it because, basic civil disobedience runs in my blood from my father and his father, and the immigrants that came here that told their countrymen to shove it, basically. And you know
Hold on. Don't tell us any more, because we'll pick it up with your immigrant family telling people to shove it. On the backside of a break, and we'll talk more about your book. Forget Wall Street, go for gold and silver too. Kerry Lutz of the Financial Survival Network is our guest. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Hang tight. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, your host, along with Kerry Lutz of Financial Survival Network. We ended that segment talking about your book, Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver. You were telling us all how, 6 or 8 months ago, you decided you were the guy to write this book because of your rebellious lineage, where your family's immigrating over here had the courage to tell oppressive government, or either economic circumstances caused them to leave, and had that independent spirit to strike out and look for something better. Please continue, Kerry Lutz.
Yeah, well, basically the biggest risk takers in the world are people that leave their home country and go to another country in hopes of a better life. There isn't any greater gamble that you can take, and a lot of it's taken on faith because, that obviously in Eastern Europe they had friends that came to the U.S. The streets were paved with gold and all that good stuff, and we know about that. But the fact is, they came and they said, I'm just not going to take the abuse from this administration, from this government that everybody else is. I'm free. I'm sovereign over myself, and I'm going for a better life for myself and my family. And they came here in droves. Tens of millions of people came here, and in a way that dream is dead, or it's dying more and more every day. So you need to know what's happening so you can plan how you're going to deal with it. Probably most of us are going to stay in the U.S. There's not a lot of viable alternatives out there for us, regardless how much money you have. Jim Rogers, he went to Singapore, but if you don't speak Chinese, you are a second-class citizen. Going to China, I know people who've done that. I don't think that's the solution. South America, Costa Rica, Uruguay, perhaps Chile could be a viable alternative. But, on the other hand, my family's here, and I don't want to be far away from them. So I have to figure out how to make the best of the situation I can here.
Well, let's face it. It isn't, Kerry, you live in the same world I do, right? And it isn't like 1900s, right? It isn't like the year 1900, where you will have different forms of government in the so-called West. Be it Europe, I'm assuming your immigrant parents or grandparents came from somewhere in Europe, to where you have different forms of government with each border. That isn't the case anymore. So that there's a strong argument to be made for there's nowhere to go. Now, you talked about maybe some of the developing world in South America. We talked to Aaron Hawkins. Storm Clouds Gathering is his YouTube channel. He's living in that region, and they are more free than we are here as far as entrepreneurial, the ability to be an entrepreneur or to develop a business and to not have government on your back. But you're also taking a big hit on standard of living, at least as far as what we've been accustomed to in the country. So, to have the independent spirit and to think of the notion of going to somewhere where you can, take your own intellectual ability and achieve. It's harder to do that in today's modern world, right?
Oh, absolutely. But, personal branding, doing what you and I do, Charlie, really is where it's at. And I've shifted a large portion of Financial Survival Network over towards helping people brand themselves, because I feel that's essential. But then any wealth that you have, I think you need to be in gold and silver. and you need to have it well secured, well hidden, and you need to be prepared for what's coming at you. I think if you understand what's coming, the potential collapse, the final dissolving or dissolution of the dollar-based world economy into something else, then you have a shot at adapting to it. But look, in the Great Depression, there were people, Charlie, who lost everything and they came back in 10 years. And then there were people who lost everything and they never came back. They never got over it. And, that's what you have to understand, that it's temporary, that opportunities will arise, and that the future hasn't been written yet, but that you can do things to protect yourself and your family and be ready for the potential cataclysmic changes that seem like they're just very close. They look like they're going to happen in 2013.
Let's get. I mean, this is the premise of the book. Forgetting the traditional method of storing your hard-earned wealth in Wall Street is the premise. You're teaching people in this book how to protect themselves for the next cataclysm that's coming financially.
Sure, you have to. Somebody's got to do it. That's what you're doing. That's your mission. There's a lot of us out there, but we're a mere whisper compared to the mainstream media and the media resources that Wall Street can bring to bear on anything. And you started out talking about, basically lulling the populace asleep and making them believe things that aren't true. And that's what we're really up against. We have an uphill battle. The good thing is that that people look around, and even if you have a job, people that can't get a job. And even if you still have a house, you still own it, people who've lost their homes, a lot of them. So the meme, the little mosaic that they're trying to paint of happy days are here again, prosperity's just around the corner, and, the whole Herbert Hoover thing, I don't think people are being taken in by it. And, that's really what I'm aiming at is, okay, you've come to the conclusion now that something is really drastically wrong with your economy, with your country. You feel like you're economically insecure. What are you going to do about it now? And there's lots of things that you can do, measures, actions that you can take to really see to it that, that you're going to get through this. In times like this, Charlie, it's not how much you make, it's how much you don't lose that really makes you a winner or not.
Great. Yeah, that's a great point. I've never heard it put like that before. But you're right. I mean, are you going to lose everything or just be able to maintain? And maintaining in some cases, you're right, it is winning. I know you can't go through the whole book here, but I mean, is your primary advice, is it physical? Get into something tangible. Don't get out of paper. I mean, do get out of paper and get into something that is time tested. It doesn't mean gold and silver necessarily. Although if you have extra wealth, I always recommend people get into precious metals, but tangibles, food, taking care of yourself and your loved ones first. If you have money after that and you want to save some of that wealth, land, then get into your precious metals. I mean, is this the strategy you've invoked?
Yeah, well, we cover a lot of different areas. Mainly, I'm talking about gold and silver, but obviously, you need means of protecting yourself, protecting your family. You need food. You need a lot of different things, and you need to be prepared. My main point is you need to make a plan, even though your plan will be useless in actual operation. Like Mike Tyson says, a plan is great until you get hit in the head.
That's right. Manny Pacquiao had a plan. He just couldn't get out of the sixth round.
Yeah, exactly. You know what it is. I mean, your plan is useless, but are you better off getting on that plane or into that movie theater and knowing where the emergency exits are? And then if one of them's blocked, you might be able to get to the other one before everybody else wakes up and even realizes there's an emergency. You're out that door. And that's what you need to be doing here. The food, I don't go into food storage and such. That's going to be for the next book. What I'm really talking about now is securing wealth, getting out of paper, and protecting your family, building your financial fortress.
Forget Wall Street. Go for the gold and silver. That is Kerry Lutz's new book. We're going to tell you how to get it on the backside of this break. Kerry, and I also want to look at what you think some of these events in 2013 that are rapidly approaching. We're going to be back with Kerry Lutz of the Financial Survival Network. More Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes. Hang tight. All right, guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, your host. Final segment of this 2-hour adventure tonight. Kerry Lutz, you were telling us about your book, Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver. One way to describe it is this: you wrote this because you wanted to help people prepare for what you believe is coming, potentially even in 2013. But tell us how we can get the book, because I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, well, it's just about. Second, I have to click that. It's just about to be released on Amazon. It's on Amazon. You can get it for the Kindle now. The hard copy, not quite there because we had to upload a new copy. But by next week, if you just go to kerrylutz.com, you'll get the link, or you can send me an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. The first 10 people that send it to me, I'll send the book to for nothing. I'll send you a really great PDF that it's called an M book. So just kl@kerrylutz.com. We'll shoot out 10 free copies, and I'll send everybody else a link to where they can buy it, because this is where the rubber meets the road, where I'm finally getting to talk about what I've been doing for the past 6 months, and it's been a challenge because I had to go relearn a lot of things. There's a lot of history in this book that you need to understand what the monetary system is today and why you need to get out of it.
KL@kerrylutz.com?
Correct.
Okay, KL@kerrylutz.com. All right, guys, get over there, and the first 10 he's going to give out for free, KL@kerrylutz.com. Monetary system of today, get out of it. I couldn't agree with that more. I haven't even read the book yet, but I'm in 100% agreement with you there. The next big adventure, which we touched on in the last hour slightly, is the fiscal cliff, Kerry Lutz. And I believe the whole plan here is, it isn't about reducing our spending or increasing taxes, although those forms of austerity are coming. It is about more and more and more debt. And in fact, that's a stated goal. They want to be able to eventually get rid of this pesky debt ceiling that our nation has. First of all, if you want to, I think we have a wager that still isn't quite settled. We had a presidential wager.
An ounce of silver.
That's right.
Bet you
That's right. But wait, we might be able to double or nothing this up here. But
let me ask you with you, Charlie.
Huh? What's that?
I'm not feeling lucky with you.
Well, all right, and this probably wouldn't be a good bet for you to take, because I would take the position of no, it's not going to happen, which is, are we going to have a deal between now and January 1st and the fiscal cliff? What are your thoughts on that?
It's in some respect, it's almost irrelevant. What happens if we go over the cliff? The tax cuts of the Bush years are rescinded. Right. So, you're going to be paying 28% on your capital gains, and you'll no longer have a dividend exemption. And the top rate will be 39 point something instead of 35% as it is today. And they'll cut a whole bunch of spending that should have been cut long ago. Maybe they'll cut it. Maybe they won't. But, I don't see I'm missing something here. I just don't see what's so terrible. It's not like the government's going to shut down. The thing of extending the debt ceiling, and basically Obama wanted a blank check to just say, we'll do away with it, and whatever debt we run up, we run up. The debt is what it's about, Charlie. I had a guy on my show, professor of economics at Boston University, Lawrence Kotlikoff, and he estimates that the true deficit, meaning what's been promised and what there is to spend, is $220 trillion over the next 20 years. That obviously is unsustainable. That's the real cliff. What's happening now? Yeah, the worst thing to do in the middle of a recession or a depression is to increase taxes. We know that from the 30s. Roosevelt did the same thing. It was one of the primary causes of the prolonging of the Great Depression. And it's going to do exactly the same thing here. It will raise unemployment. It will raise entitlement spending. It will increase the deficit. There's not even a question about it.
This well, here's the deal. There is no conservative party. There's no conservatives in Washington, D.C. Both of them are huge government, huge spending, hugely intrusive, and hugely reliant on us being able to spend $1.4 trillion a year in deficit. Now, the argument's going to be made that, it's only since we've had Obama in there that we went over that $1 trillion a year mark in deficit spending. But the table was set long before then. The Republicans have the so-called conservative Republicans have every much as vested interest in keeping this monstrous, out of control government rolling as do anybody on the left who wants to pump money into social programs so they can continue to build a base and keep people malleable. The notion that one of these teams is going to jump on board and stop this gravy train, that is not going to happen. Absolutely not. However, I do believe that the agenda, that the stated agenda, and even actions that our government has taken over the last decade show that they are more than willing to use a crisis event, to write policy, and they're more than willing to terrify the hell out of people in order to get this policy done. And I don't care if it's gun control or increasing our debt ceiling. They will use a crisis event in order to manipulate the population. And this event, this fiscal cliff, I'm with you 100%. It's meaningless. It's completely meaningless. They're going to raise the debt ceiling. Even if they don't, they're going to figure out a way to keep spending us $1 trillion into debt. They're going to figure out a way to keep the military and security industrial complex flourishing. And they're going to figure out a way to keep people malleable by keeping them on some sort of assistance, one form or another, 47 million people on food stamps. Because if you took that away, right, if that went away tomorrow, then you would have civil war. You'd have people being shot and murdered in the streets tomorrow morning. If you took it all away, it's game over overnight, correct?
Of course. I mean, look, if the EBT cards don't get auto-loaded come the first of every month, blood on the streets, right? I mean, it can't be anything else. And I totally agree with you. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And the two parties are just bookends. I mean, to me, if you remember that movie with James Dean, Rebel Without a Cause, one guy is heading to the cliff at 80 miles an hour, and the other guy is running towards the cliff at 100, but they're both heading for the same place, and that's over that cliff to oblivion, and that's where they're going to send us. And to think that this guy Boehner, he's already demonstrated he won't defund Obamacare. I mean, the last thing I looked at the Constitution, Charlie, it said that all spending bills must originate in the House of Representatives, which means if they don't want to spend it, it doesn't get spent. And yet, here we are 2 years later, and they've done absolutely nothing. They've cut no government spending. So it's obvious that this is a game intended to fool you, to get you to believe that they really do care about you and they want to help you, and the drill. But the fact is, they've got their own interests. They're lining their own pockets. Congress is a criminal underclass. I didn't say that. Mark Twain did over 100 years ago, and they've done nothing to convince me otherwise during my relatively short life.
Well, they've done everything to convince me otherwise in the last decade, right? That's why the most heated debate I get in is with people that, regardless of what team they belong to or want to belong to, that are just so stuck in the dogma of that political tranche. And these are the folks that I think are the most lost, because they truly have sold out. They drank the Kool-Aid. They've sold out their soul to a party. Boehner or any of the other upper echelon folks in the House of Representatives or in the Senate, come on, man. They're not playing for Team America. They're playing for Team Special Interest. And that's not to say that, 435 members of the House of Representatives, there's some good people. There's some good men and women in there. There's some good senators. But, when it comes to the key positions of power, I'm 100%, in my mind anyway, convinced that, it's special interest driven, regardless of team, regardless of ideology. It's, if they achieve the position where they're sitting on these committees, they can decide what's voted on, what's not voted on. They've been Tau-Count to, for in some cases, 40, 50 years. The agenda going forward isn't going to be agenda that benefits the people of this country. Of course, that's what they're going to say when the camera's on. But as soon as those big, massive oak doors are closed, deals are cut that are not beneficial to this country. And if you need proof of that, you don't have to talk to Kerry Lutz or Charlie McGrath. All you got to do is look around your country. I mean, look at us. It's a mess.
It's a downright disgrace, and that's why I wrote the book, Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver Too. Because
that's right. Wait a minute. I'm going to stop you, because if I don't, I'm going to get in trouble. Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver Too. You're giving away 10 free copies at KL, standing for Kerry Lutz, I'm assuming, KL@kerrylutz.com. And soon it's up on Amazon right now.
Yeah, it's up on Amazon. You can find it there. I've already gotten 4 or 5 people who've sent in for the book, just looking at my email. So we got 6 more to go. Go for it. It's free. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it'll really help put things in perspective. That's really the goal here, is I want you to understand what's really happening, how it's going to affect you, and why you need to do something about it. If I could sum up my intent in writing the book, that really covers it.
I think it's important. Quickly, do we unravel in 2013? We have less than a minute left here. I mean, are you seeing an unraveling, or are we kicking the can down the road another couple of years?
We began the process a long time ago, but obviously it picked up steam greatly in 2008. It's kind of been meandering around. In the next 18 months, I mean, this is it. This is where the rubber meets the road, which means you still have time to do something about it.
All right, Kerry Lutz, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on, sharing some time with us, and giving us your expert opinions. Kerry Lutz, Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver. Sounds like there's 6 or so free copies left. You got to go to KL@kerrylutz.com. Send him an email. He'll send you a free book. If you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and give it a try. If he's got 4 given out now,
I think we're down
more
to
than like
4 left, Charlie.
Okay, we're down to 4. So if you're listening on YouTube, it's about 3 hours after the program. Then go to his website. Is it kerrylutz.com?
Yeah, you can find it kerrylutz.com, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Either way will get you there. And sign up for the newsletter, sign up for the book, and God bless, because we're going to need his help more than ever for what's coming at us.
Amen, Father Lutz. All right, Kerry, thank you very much. We'll get you back on next month. Please stay tuned for Jeff Prince, because he is coming up next. Have a good night. Peace.